Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
I just can't take it anymore. I am so tired. I am so frustrated and burnt out. Why won't anyone listen to what I have to say? Yet I look on social media and everybody's smiling and having a great time. Meanwhile, I feel totally alone with my world rushing by. Guess what? Great news. You have a choice. You can change the dynamic by learning how to listen at an elevated level yourself through the power of listening educational courses. Can you imagine from where you are today to having a life overflowing with abundance? It's possible. Learn how to listen at an elevated level. You'll have deeper connections, better relationships, and more authentic conversations. Start today. Go to usaglobaltv.com, education, and learn how to listen. We have courses and children's books. Let's work together to learn how to listen.
Hi, Red O'Laughlin here. We're on Talking Heads. We're almost in the middle of our 6-week assignment on lifestyle and longevity. You know, what can we change in our daily lives that will allow us to live longer, but more importantly, have a better quality of life when we actually get to that part? I don't think any one of us wants to be a burden on somebody else. Having somebody change our diaper for 5 or 10 years, whatever it may happen to be. And I'm sorry, I'm having technical difficulties right this second. Dr. Jacqueline, you take it back for a commercial break, please.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. This is It's Your Healthy Lifestyle show, hosted by the founder of this platform, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and myself, Roland Friedl. How important is your health and fitness to you? We show you how you can easily eat healthier every day, how you can improve your fitness and recover much quicker after your exercises and workouts. Families will learn how to optimize their children's health and nutrition. And finally, you will also hear how you live a long, healthy, and fit life into your old age. Join us here on It's Your Healthy Lifestyle.
Hi, Red O'Laughlin here. Talking Heads, USA Global TV and Radio Network. We're just about in the middle of a 6-part series on longevity and lifestyle. I think all of us want to live a nice, healthy life. Healthy meaning that when we get much older, that we are actually able to do what we want to do. We're not a burden to other people. We don't have a really bad situation where somebody's changing our diaper or we're in an Alzheimer's ward someplace or who knows what. We want to be able to do what we want to do. And that's kind of what we're talking about. That's not kind of, it is what we're talking about with regard to longevity and lifestyle, because it all begins with what you're doing every single day, the things in your life that you do. Let's pull up the slides and get ready to go in today, because there's a really exciting chapter today. My introduction. disclaimer, I'm a researcher. I am not a medical person. I've never been in that field. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a pharmaceutical person. However, around 15 years of age, I was sophomore in high school, and I fell in love with chemistry. I fell in love with it so much I got a degree in it. However, I did not get a chance to practice it because I got an invitation to Vietnam, and by the time I got back, the whole world had changed. I ended up in a different field, and several years ago, my wife came down with cancer, and part of my personal program to help her as a caregiver, I started doing some research using my chemistry background, trying to find out what can I do. Well, that's when I kind of fell in love with chemistry again. I started looking at the human body at the cellular level, looking for what's going on chemically, what causes this to happen. And all of a sudden, things started to fall out. And when you treat a cause, and when you know something causes this, you treat the cause, you can generally fix a problem. But if you're treating symptoms, like most of the things that we have, pharmaceutical drugs and things, we are not fixing anything. We're just putting a Band-Aid on it. If you go in to have a surgery to repair something, it's fixed. If you taking a pill for a particular problem, the problem's not fixed. All you're doing is covering it up. So that being said, let's get into our presentation today. Lifestyle. It's the way a person lives. And there's so many aspects of it, and we'll be looking at those. Longevity. Basically, how long do you live? Doesn't matter the quality of life. It just says that's how long you live. Now, we use another term in there, aging. And that's where we enter that time portion of our particular life. And this is dealing with our biological, our social, our psychological function. So aging and longevity and lifestyle, they're all intertwined. Now, when I look at life, living, aging, longevity, we have a lot of choices. A lot of the choices we make subconsciously. We wake up, we want coffee. We wake up, we want breakfast. It's noontime, we got to go to lunch. We're driven by the clock. We're driven by our habits. But the choices we make every day become our lifestyle. It becomes our daily habit and becomes our future. The diet, it's the foods we choose to eat. Weight, a lot of us maintain our weight. We don't change. We may be overweight, underweight. We make the right weight, but our weight doesn't significantly change from one year to the next. And there's reasons why. That's another program. And we had a program on that a while back, understanding what the causes of weight gain and weight loss were, but probably needs to be updated. Regardless, we can't seem to change that weight, or we can't seem to get rid of that extra 2 or 3 inches. And it drives us crazy. Activities we choose on a daily basis, and our relationships. This is really a big thing when you start getting older. You get past your 60s, your 70s. Relationships add more value to your life than you would think. Sleep. If we don't sleep, we don't recharge our batteries. We don't repair the stuff in our bodies that needs repairing. Lots of things don't happen when we give up our sleep, or we have poor sleep. Stress. Everybody has stress. It's not what happens to us. It's what we decide to hang on to. And the habits we develop and the ones we keep. Those are the things that determine what's going on. So I think most of us understand a few things. We have choices, what we don't eat. Most of us already know what carbohydrates we eat. I don't think that's any secret anymore. We know what proteins we eat. We might have a little problem identifying some of the fats, especially if you eat out a lot, eat a lot of fried foods, but we don't know the percentages generally, unless you're following everything very, very closely. We just eat. But what about the other nutrients that we need? Things that are out there that can be helpful to us, phytonutrients and flavonoids and all sorts of other things that are part of the options we have to eat, but we choose not to use them. And then obviously it's always the choice of how often or how much, how many calories. And then when we start looking at today's talk, we're looking, what is our end health going to be? But we're looking at it from the big A, in this particular case, autophagy, and how fasting and other things can lead to that. In an ideal world, we'd eat a meal, it would be balanced nutrition, it would be less calories than we would have on a regular basis. All our energy needs would be met. If I go out and run 5 miles a day, that would be part of my energy needs. I'd be eating for that. and whether my energy was met by glucose or ketones, it doesn't matter. My hormones would be balanced, my electrolytes would be balanced, I'd minimize, have no toxins. Everything would be working the way it should be. My cardiovascular system would be humming along. I'd have clear brain. My sleep, I'd just be like sleeping like a baby every night. Stress levels would be low or non-existent. My weight would be maintained at a really optimum level, and I could be able to do whatever I want to do. I would be assured of good future health. All my good genes are turned on and activated. All my bad genes are turned off. That is an ideal world. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. Now, some of those things happen, but not all of them together. What really happens? Well, the foods we choose don't always provide the nutrient balance. If you were to sit down there with some kind of, uh, say, Dr. Google, they're helping you figure out how many carbohydrates have this much iron, this much selenium, this much vitamin A, and you start itemizing everything. We don't choose our foods by what the nutrient balance is. We choose foods by what we like and primarily by what we've always eaten, our habits. Insulin resistance gets in the way. Just because at 25 years of age I can eat this food doesn't mean at 45 I have the exact same metabolism that's processing everything. That if I've chosen to eat more carbs over my lifetime from 25 to 45, my insulin processing and response time is going to be a little bit different. Uh, I may probably have some hormonal imbalance. It doesn't take much if you're stressed out to get extra cortisol involved in there, and some of the things are overloaded or they're not supplied with what they need. Uh, Many of us, when you start getting into your 45s, 55s, 65s, we start having sleep issues. We take our stress to bed with us. We lay down, and all of a sudden, that one problem that's just been plaguing us can't leave our mind. Whether it's a relationship, a boss, heaven only knows what it might be, but it bothers us. Or we choose to eat late at night, or we choose to drink a lot at night, and we just can't get that sleep under control. We take forever to get to sleep. We wake up tired. It just seems to be a non-ending world. We sleep in late on the weekend, doesn't make any difference. I got to go back on Monday on the old schedule. Weight issues, yeah, lots of them. The weight problems are induced by what we eat, the amount of exercise we choose, and other factors. Alcohol is a big one. We hear eat, drink with moderation. Well, what is moderation, and how many of us actually do that? Smoking, all of us know it's not one of those things for a healthy lifestyle. It's not. And whether it's any kind of tobacco product, whether it's vaping or what do you call the chew or whatever, not healthy. Toxins. We just finished a show on toxins very recently, and there's so many of them out there that most of us have no idea in the world what they are and how they affect us. But when we start talking about our body, we got to start at the lowest level. We know that disease, about 95+% of disease starts at the cellular level with chronic low level inflammation. In other words, our cells are screaming that there's things going on. Mutations start to occur, oxidative stress starts going in, and we begin this process cell by cell of having a disease 10, 20, 30 years down the road. However, cellular dysfunction can be fixed literally with a couple, two or three different things. One of them is antioxidants. You start getting more fruits and vegetables into your body. That way you allow the antioxidants to cut back on that free radical damage and quell that inflammation. Don't allow it to get to the oxidative stress level. But another system we have that almost nobody knows about is called autophagy. We can activate it, but we don't, because we don't know about it. This program today is about awareness. We make people aware of things, provide a little bit of education, and then if they want to go to Dr. YouTube and learn more about autophagy, more power to them, because it's part of your life. It's a normal system in the body, but most of us have never heard of it. If we are deficient in, B vitamins and things, we're going to end up with depression, anxiety, health issues, brain fog. A lot of things happen when we're not balanced. But where do we start? Well, we all know we start with our food choices, our exercise, our stress management, our toxin removal, or not getting to begin with. And we start getting driven by our habits. We have cravings. Sometimes we have addictions, but they all become part of our lifestyle. What can we do? And today's presentation is probably the first on something that really and truly can help you with your future health. What can we do to improve our aging? Well, there's two things that happen every single day that if we allow them to happen. One of them's called autophagy. The other one's called mTOR. mTOR is a little m, capital T, capital O, capital R. mTOR stands for mammalian target of rapamycin. And mTOR we're not going to talk about today. It's actually sort of not necessarily the opposite of autophagy, but mTOR helps us with our growth, keeping good muscles, keeping good organs and things. But autophagy is essentially trash pickup and delivery and recycling. If you can imagine opening up your blood vessel, driving a trash truck and a recycler in, and that trash truck stops at every single cell and says, okay, what you got? Give me your garbage, give me your trash. What do you have for recycling? That's the overall autophagy process. As I said a minute ago, mTOR deals more with metabolism and physiology, but we're going to talk about mTOR down the road, maybe next week. I'm not sure, but I think maybe. But autophagy, a natural process, our bodies break down a lot of things. Some of them become used up, broken, damaged over time. And these are things inside our cells or neurons. And that's key, particularly for our brain health and for brain-related issues. And we can reuse them. We can put them out for cellular repair. We can make new cells. Anyway, our autophagy is our body's garbage disposal system and replicator. Replicator, for those people who are Star Trek aficionados, you say, okay, I want cheeseburger, and all of a sudden the replicator door opens up and there's a cheeseburger. The computer knows how to replicate a cheeseburger. Well, in the garbage disposal system, it's cranking up all of these little things in the lysosomes inside our cells. You got over 50 enzymes and acids, and they break down the damaged stuff and pump out brand new stuff that the cells can use to create new molecules. And so when you think about it, hey, if my systems are working right, my cells are healthy, they're not backed up with anything, well then, I should be in pretty good health. For those people not on video today, what I'm showing here is a picture of the trash cans being full and just garbage bags stacked up, 30 or 40 of them out there in front. And you see this occasionally when a city refuge system goes on strike, and all of a sudden you see literally tons, hundreds of garbage bags sitting on the street. Well, think of it as your body. What if you ate a bunch of stuff, but you never took the trash out? You never, any of the wrappers, any of the bad stuff from cooking, anything you have that's refuge was stocked inside your house. It doesn't take very many years at all before your house, you can't move around because of all the trash. Well, your cells are the same way. The cells have to be cleaned out. And if you don't use autophagy, they're not going to be working at 100%. Well, we also know we have genes that turn on good stuff, turn off, for bad. But there's a particular gene called the PSEN1 gene. And when that one's activated, you have a disruption of your cellular trash pickup and recycling. Well, the medical industry found there's a couple of drugs out there that they can use. One of them is to reduce neurodegeneration. I'll talk about that in a moment. And it's called isoproterenol. And the other one's clenbuterol. And it does the same thing, but it deals more with enhancing neurogenesis. However, both of them have some serious side effects. Both have problems with cardiovascular issues, nervous system. And ironically, there's a lot of natural options out there, but you can't patent natural options. The FDA will not allow it. So when your doctor says, I want you on clenbuterol, he can't say, well, I really need you to eat an apple a day and exercise a little bit, because that's not approved by the FDA. But autophagy, I mentioned earlier, it occurs in both our neurons in our brain and the cells in our body, whether it's our heart or gut, anywhere we have cells, autophagy occurs. Neurodegeneration particularly applies more to the neurons or neuronal health. And I think it's worth going into, because a lot of problems that we're going to have in our age-related world is going to be more brain-related. And so neurodegeneration is basically a neural system degradation. It's just not working the way it used to for whatever reason. And reasons could be many: inflammation, oxidative stress. We talked about those two already. Hormonal imbalance. Who would have thought that hormones could affect the brain? But they do, big time. Nutrient deficiency. We know that already. Vitamin B12 deficiency mimics Alzheimer's. Excitotoxicity, too many toxins going on at one time, you can't control them. And there's more. But we can counter those naturally with diet, with exercise, stress management. Get that stress managed on a daily basis. Be toxin aware of what you're eating and how to get rid of it. Cognitive attention, crossword puzzles, Sudoku. Learn, be a constant learner. The earlier you do this, you probably fight off that, let's say that you are absolutely going to get, because of your genetic background, you're going to get Alzheimer's. Maybe instead of getting Alzheimer's at age 65, you get it at age 95. The earlier you start on something, the more you can slow down something or stop it or do something to mitigate that particular potential. Neurogenesis. Again, keep concentrating on the brain, on the neurons. If I want new neurons in my brain, I have to generate it through neurogenesis. I can do it by aerobic exercise. That's adding more oxygen flowing through the brain. It's going to stimulate more neuron growth. BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Again, that's a protein that essentially is a protector and encourager of a neuron generation in the brain. Lots of things to generate that. Our sleep, quality sleep. Meditation, kind of a stress reducer. Our brains are basically an omega-3 fatty acid, primarily DHA. But when we think about omega-3 fatty acids from salmon or from other things, we get the EPA and the DHA. So when you go buy an omega-3 fatty acid pill, you're getting both. But if you were to buy a pill that had 90% DHA and 10% EPA, you're probably helping your brain a whole lot more. Again, our mental activity, if we keep it going, it slows down the brain shrinkage. And yes, our brains do shrink. Every single year of our life, our brains are getting smaller. But if we keep them stimulated, that shrinkage doesn't happen as quickly. We talked about the foods we eat, the proteins and the fats and the carbohydrates, but we have flavonoids, green tea, blueberries, cocoa, chocolate, that kind of. We have an energy system that can work on ketones or glucose. Well, if it's operating on glucose, you're starting to add that insulin factor in there that can become an issue. Ketones, there's a lot of pluses with it. There's a couple of minuses. We'll talk about that down the road here. But resveratrol, curcumin, those are two very super excellent phytonutrients to have in our body, but neither one of them are very bioavailable. If you add to resveratrol or to curcumin a black pepper extract called piperine, it makes each one of them 100 times better as far as bioavailability. Instead of getting 2% from my curcumin because the body just can't accept it any more than that, all of a sudden now I'm maybe getting 20, 30, 40, 50% of that into my body. And curcumin is one that's really and truly, it's one of two molecules that I'm aware of that can go right straight down to the cellular inflammation in the body, shut it down, and in the event of some kind of trauma in your body starts having a autoimmune response, it shuts down the cyclooxygenase 2 enzyme, which starts a lot of things down the road. So curcumin, super good. Get it with the piperine, and you're really protecting yourself a lot. But if you want to do some level of some quantitative assessment of how much inflammation you have in the body, C-reactive protein test. I had one earlier this week, my wife and I. C-reactive protein is a measure of how much inflammation you have in your body. You want it as close to zero as possible. Curcumin is one of those things that will help you do that. Phosphatidylserine looks like a big word. Our body makes 4 different phospholipids. Phosphatidylserine is one of them. It will pass through the blood-brain barrier. And it's really and truly a super, my brother-in-law, a Catholic priest, long before his retirement age of 75 for that particular profession, he came down with early onset Alzheimer's for a few years. He couldn't tell you what year it was, had no concept of some things. However, we started giving him phosphatidylserine, I think 300 milligrams a day, whatever was on the outside of the label. And within 2 months, he could tell you what he had for breakfast, what was on TV last night, what he planned on watching tonight on TV. It was like Alzheimer's disappeared in his life. But unlike most diseases, Alzheimer's has many causes. You fix one cause, let's say less or deficiency in B12, the deficiency in phosphatidylserine. That doesn't mean that some other cause or multiple other causes running down parallel tracks eventually get to the brain. And even though you fix that particular cause, doesn't mean you've fixed the disease. All you've done was eliminate a cause. Melatonin is another one that really and truly helps with neurogenesis. We get that urge to sleep when it gets dark, and there's a reason why. Lots of other things in there. But how do I actually go about activating autophagy in my body? Well, the easiest way, the way it happens all the time, is by fasting. Well, if you're the typical person, as soon as you get up in the morning, you're having a cup of coffee, a donut, or who knows what else for breakfast, and you have a snack, you have lunch, maybe another snack, dinner, you come home and you grab something and sit in front of the TV, you have a couple beers. You never allow your body to get into autophagy because you need, depending on which source you want to look at, if you're on a ketogenic diet and have been for a while, you might activate it at about 12, 14, 16 hours. For most places I've seen, 17, 18 hours seems to be the magic number for when you turn the clock on. Other times I've seen 24 hours before autophagy begins. But autophagy begins incrementally. You just think of it as a dimmer switch. As soon as you get to 16, 17 hours, boom, the fasting now says, okay, I can start autophagy. And now you're starting to crank it up. Okay, there's 1%. Okay, let's work, let's 2%, but 3%. Well, autophagy maxes out at 72 hours. And which is why I do a 72-hour fast every month. But it's because by that point in time, your body is getting rid of all broken, unused, damaged DNA, all molecules that are not functioning, the body gets rid of because it thinks it's going into a major starvation. But autophagy is a cellular level, both in the brain and in the body, that is something that cleans up all those cells and minimizes that cellular junk that's just accumulating in there. So if you think about it, if you're activating autophagy all the time, maybe you can slow down those neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and whatever. It's something to certainly consider. Glucose is a big enemy of autophagy. If you come off at 17 hours and you start everything and you decide, okay, fine, I'm going to have a grilled cheese sandwich, that sandwich being carbohydrate is going to shut it down. You have to keep your glucose low. That's why they tell you if you want to really really enhance your autophagy, go on a ketogenic diet. B vitamins, curcumin again with piperine, pycnogenol, pine bark derivative. Something I never heard of before, but in my research I came across this thing called thunder god vine. Again, it activates or helps to activate the autophagy. Because we're looking at neurons also, we want more DHA in our system, omega-3 fatty acid. Short-chained fatty acids are things that we create in our gut with fiber, very, very good for activating autophagy. Being in ketosis, you're not fighting that glucose issue on a daily basis. Exercise is another one. The more high tense and more strenuous the exercise, the more likelihood you're going to get into autophagy earlier. Quality sleep, one that came up is cruciferous vegetables. I said, okay, why? Well, the main reason cruciferous vegetables is because there's a lot of sulfur in them. Sulfur is needed to repair just about anything in the body requires some level of sulfur. EVOO, extra virgin olive oil, again, another good activator of autophagy. Same thing with coconut oil, medium chain triglyceride. Hot and cold therapy, something we wouldn't think about, but you go into a hot dip or a cold dip, what happens is you're putting your body under stress. It's called hormesis. And those little stresses cause things to happen, one of them being autophagy. What happens if you allow autophagy just to willy-nilly rule the roost and you never get into fasting, you don't do much exercise, and you're not paying much attention to other things in your life? Well, autophagy can lead to, and again, these are the cells in the organs in the body and our brain that are overloaded with trash and garbage that don't get cleaned out. We end up with liver disease, diabetes, kidney disease, cardiovascular issues, inflammatory bowel disease, neurodegenerative diseases, your Parkinson's, your ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. I think that's what that one is. Lou Gehrig's disease, Alzheimer's, Huntington's, and there's more. Cancers, a lot of them. Did a lot of research on that one, and it's a lot of different cancers have a genesis in some part with autophagy being there. But it can be autophagy that's overstimulated because you go into a super long fast and you're just keeping it there, or you suppress the autophagy function by not allowing it to happen. But again, autophagy can generally be corrective, but again, the earlier you do it, the better off for a long-term life, your longevity. What are some of the natural benefits? Well, it's a natural body function. We need it. Our cells require it for survival. It's one of those things we have to have. It protects against neurodegeneration. Again, our brain fog, our brain diseases. It's a natural anti-aging protection. You keep the cells clean and functioning, you're going to live a little longer, and you're going to probably have a much lower risk of any kind of age-related disease. Because the cells are working properly, your immune system's working properly, our immune system is going to help reduce our inflammation, reduce oxidative stress. And again, our cardiovascular issues, our risk of cancers, all of those things are going to be reduced because the autophagy is taking on the burden of doing that. Now, if I wanted to start autophagy tomorrow morning, I would be looking at some kind of intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting, look at something at least 18 to 20 hours. Get the switch turned on little by little. Maybe you do an intermittent fasting 3, 4, 5 days a week, and then you take one day and I just fast for 20 hours or 24 hours. If you're doing one meal a day, OMAD, you're automatically turning on autophagy, but that one meal a day has to be consumed within a 1 or 2 hour time frame. So if you have a nice meal, and it's, let's say, a nice big meal, big whatever it may happen to be, you're going to burn off all your glucose, all that stuff is going to be there, but your autophagy is going to be turned on. Over time, the sugar is going to be burned out, and you're going to be able to switch over into ketones, burn some fat. Ketogenic diet, I'm going to bring that one up a little bit next time because I think it's worth talking about a little bit more. But exercise is part of a normal program. Start walking if you're not doing anything else, and beware of what your body needs on a nutritional basis. Real quickly, that's the end of today's show. I'm not sure what we're going to do next week, but probably start with mTOR so you understand both ends of the equation. You can find my books on Amazon. No matter what you can do, it deals with the subconscious mind. The Joy of Ageless Health addresses what causes disease and what options you have to short circuit those. Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging talks about the two primary causes of aging, your telomere length, which we talked about last week, and the human growth hormone, which we talked about the week before that. And Understanding Alzheimer's, the Causes of Alzheimer's Disease is my most recent book out, just got released this past week. So all those, again, are available on Amazon, and I can be reached at red@redolaughlin.com, red like the color. Redolaughlin.com is my website. All my information for contact is in the banner. Red O'Laughlin, spelled RedOlaughlin.com. So thank you again, Dr. Jacqueline, for allowing me on the Talking Heads for USA Global TV and Radio Network. And our segment is Lifestyle and Longevity. And we will see you next week. And all of these are available on YouTube and the archive of the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And goodbye until next week. Have a wonderful time.